Hello. Welcome to week 25 of 5225, 52 weeks of loving movies. It's the end of Pride Month, but that doesn't mean we have to stop being proud. We can be proud all year round, but we've chosen this week to show that pride here at Matty Loves Movies. And we're recording on International Pride Day. Hopefully I'll have the video out today so some people can watch it on Pride Day. But I am not alone. Today I am being joined by one of my dear friends, our favorite messy lesbian, Carly Perkins. See you in a moment. Hey, Carly.
Hi, Matt.
How are you?
I'm good. It's Pride Month. We're gonna talk about a bunch of queer movies. Yeah, I'm fantastic.
Well, good. I'm glad to hear that. I'm excited to talk about these movies. What Carly and I did, for those viewers who are tuning in here, what we decided we wanted to do a queer month, but usually I just kind of pick movies. I make a list of contenders, and then I just kind of pick movies as I go for each week. But this week, since I was going to have a guest on, I was like, okay, well, we should probably pick the movies. And we didn't want to focus too heavily on any one thing because we kind of wanted to spread the love. So what we decided to do was to pick 4 movies, do an L, a G, a B, and a T. But each of these movies have representation, or not all of, I don't know. Yeah, they have representation across the board. So we could talk about all of it, but we're going to start with our L, our lesbian movie. I don't know if you know this, Carly, you might, but when the queer mafia was deciding what order to put LGBT in, they decided to put L first because for a long time it was GLB was what people said, gay, lesbian, bisexual. And they decided to put L at the beginning because of the massive effect lesbians had on the AIDS crisis for gay and bisexual men during that time, because no one else cared. So the lesbians were like the only people that were able to step up in those situations. And so yeah, your ancestors, your queer ancestors are the yeah, that's fine. Your queer ancestors are what are why it is said that way. But we're going to start with our lesbian movie, which is The Miseducation of Cameron Post. Now this was your pick on this. You'd given me a few that we wanted to that might be good to cover, and this is one I hadn't seen. Well, I'd seen part of it. I discovered while I was watching it, and I even logged it on Letterboxd, but I forgot most of it. So, or I didn't see most of it. So I am going to call this a first time watch. But this is counting as my first time watch for this week. But Carly, tell me why you picked this one.
It was one of the first queer indies that I ever saw or heard of, and it's just such a fascinating look at conversion. What's the term? Conversion therapy camps.
Yeah.
And part of it is I love Chloe Grace Moretz. I think that's the main actress's name. I recognize her from a few things. So this is my first time actually rewatching it. It was only based off that first watch that I just absolutely loved.
Nice.
I just absolutely loved it. So, and my thing I really love is I particularly love the ending, how it's not romance based or anything, but it still has a positive ending. Like that was one thing that always really stuck with me. There's other stuff, but that was the main reason that like it came to mind.
It has a very subtle and hopeful ending, which I also very much enjoyed. That's actually the thing that once I got to the ending, I was like, oh, I've seen this part. There are two parts that I was like, no, I remember this. So I've either seen them in clips or I had it on while I was doing something else and didn't really pay attention to it or whatever. I don't remember which thing it was, but that ending I remember, and it's a very understated but hopeful ending. And you're right, it's not romance based. It's not even that like triumphant of a moment. It's just it's hope, and I really dig that as well. So Carly, as you know, grew up in a very religious culture. In fact, I grew up in the 90s in a very religious culture. So this movie, I told you it gave me Nam flashbacks because there was so much that I recognized from this, and I didn't come out as queer until I was 36 years old. So I spent a long time struggling and not admitting to myself. And I, for the longest time, would not admit to myself because I grew up in this type of a culture. This idea that I could choose, or that as long as I wasn't, sinning, I was fine. That kind of thing. I'm no longer a religious person. I'm not a Christian anymore. So looking back on this, seeing a lot of how a lot of things really, because it's very accurate in terms of how religious people view queerness and all that. And it was interesting because I wasn't like persecuted in my youth for that, but I was one of those people who was telling myself that I wasn't that. Like I converted myself, or the church, really the church, like with the way that they talked about queerness had basically convinced me that I wasn't, or that I shouldn't have the thoughts that I was having. So it was a very interesting and kind of painful watch, but very good. Like the actors in this are all really excellent. Chloe Grace Moretz, which you had mentioned, is really good in this movie. John Gallagher Jr., who's an actor that I really like, is in it. He plays the pastor, the formerly gay pastor, is in it, and he's incredible. He has that great moment where he just kind of breaks down crying, and it's about after the kid hurts himself, and it's just such a great moment of release for this character who has been holding in so much for so long, and what he's doing is awful and evil and gross, but it's just a very humanizing moment for this kind of bad person, nice person. Like he's a very likable character. He's just, what he's doing is very wrong. And
it's difficult because it's not like he's just some conservative straight guy that's prosecuting these kids. Like you can feel that he genuinely believes it. He like believes that he was fixed and that he's not gay anymore, and like he wants to spread that to other youth to fix them. And it's hard to hate his character when like he is also like the biggest victim of this of all.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because like his sister, the other really adult character in this movie, is the person who fixed him, and who is really the real evil of this film. But it's hard for that to not like that character or not root for him a little bit, just because that exactly he is a victim of this. From a non-religious standpoint, I don't know your whole history, but from a non-religious standpoint, what was your kind of feeling on how the conversion therapy thing was portrayed in this movie?
So my history with religion is pretty minimal. My mom is religious, but she doesn't really go to church. She's just kind of she's religious, but she's not like super outward about it. When I was a teenager, we had so many fights about gay stuff, and she has like come around a lot. Like now she's like perfectly accepting of it. So I get converted her away from homophobia. So I get to claim that, but that was part of it because we would get into all these fights about it, and it like really opened her eyes to it. Which obviously you'd prefer to just have an accepting parent, but still, there's value to the fact that she was able to change her viewpoints because of me being very gay and just yelling at her about it consistently. So it was interesting watching this because like these are like talking points that I've argued with and that I've heard a lot. So like one thing that really got to me was like that scene where she is calling her mom and she's just saying, "I'm not happy here. Like, would you let me come home if I told you I was not happy?" And her mom's just telling her, "Oh, just keep trying." And like watching that scene, I was just like, I know for a fact my mom never would have not let me come home if I was ever like in this circumstance. So like watching that, I was just like disgusted because it's like that's not love. That's not love at all. So it was just interesting because it hit me not in a case of it being relatable, but in the case of just being like, even me and my mom who were contentious at times, like it wouldn't have been that difficult.
Right.
It's kind of where I come from it. And like one of the quotes in here that just sickened me was, "Would you let drug addicts throw parades for themselves?" I'm like, you're not even trying to get the point. You're just being obtuse and like edgy. And I was just like, oh gosh, I hate so many of the characters in this. So many of the adult characters in this. I'm just like,
oh yeah,
awful.
Yeah. Because we had also talked a little bit about this, that with your mom and my mom, is that my mom was also in that culture because that's the way where I was raised. But she would never sent me to a conversion camp. Like if I had come out at the time, and it's the same way. Like if I had been like, I can't do this, she definitely would have let me come home. Like I'm not happy, but she would have never let me come and go in the first place. My mom had probably been more like your mom, where it would have been a struggle, but eventually I would have come around. She would have come around on it. Unfortunately, my mom passed away before I actually came out. But I know for sure she would have been accepting. I am not. I wish that I had been able to be honest about it before she passed away. But I have absolutely zero doubt she would have been very accepting of me and my illness. No, I'm kidding. Not an illness. But yeah. So that. There's that quote that it's been very popular lately, which is "There's no hate like Christian love," and this is the kind of thing that absolutely illustrates that the very idea of conversion camps. I know a lot of places conversion camps are just illegal. I'm pretty sure where you're from they are illegal, correct?
Yeah, I don't even know if Washington even had them, even like when I was coming out and stuff. Like either they don't have them or they have them in like, over in Ellensburg where it's a lot more right leaning and small town and all that.
Yeah, I live in Oklahoma where I'm certain it's got to be legal. I haven't checked into it, but it's certainly got to be legal, and there definitely happens. There was a speaking of religion and queerness, the last time I remember attending church regularly, I was 18, and I was already kind of struggling with my faith already. Like I wasn't sure what was going on. But so I was already in a struggle, and we had a youth group. It was called 180, which it was an affiliate of a bigger youth group situation. Anyway, it was like the youth group had like this almost like party place where teenagers could come on a Friday night and hang out, and not do drugs and drink and stuff like that. They could we'd have bands there. It was fun. And then on like Sundays and Wednesdays, we would have like youth church. Anyway, on a Sunday, I was in the main regular church, and the pastor was giving a sermon. And at one point he was like, he was talking about like turning away from sin or whatever. And he said proudly from the pulpit, we had a couple lesbians who were coming to 180, and we counseled them and we preached to them and we told them, that they needed to stop doing that. And when they wouldn't and they continued being lesbians, we had to kick them out. And the congregation, almost the entire congregation, cheered when he said that they kicked them out. And that's when I knew. I was like, church isn't a place for me. And so that's when I left. But that is one of those core memories. I remember to this day how I felt, and I was just like, oh my God, this is not a place of love. This is not. And I'm sure I know there are a lot of accepting churches, and there are a lot of very progressive churches. And I'm not saying that all church people are like this, but there are too many that are, right. And too many people who are in charge of legislation feel the way that those people felt. And so it's disheartening for a queer person to live in this country. But there are worse countries to live as a queer person, but this is the one we've got, and it sucks here too.
One thing that does make me happy is I drive by this church every day on my way to school, and like during June they put out this little like Pride Month thing, like they have these doors and they color them like rainbow or whatever.
Nice.
I never read what they say, but I think as you get the message pretty much. Like, right. We're accepting of gay people, and it always just makes me, even though I know I'll never go into that church, it just makes me happy to know that it exists.
Yeah, that's really cool and really nice. I love that. This movie also, this movie, even though it is our lesbian pick, it does feature a range of people within the community, because we've got a two-spirit person. They're gay, bisexual. We don't really get the history of every character, but it's clear this is a conversion place. There's obviously people. The pastor himself is gay, even though whether he wants to admit it to us or not. So it's so there's a lot of representation in this, but I would say that it is primarily a lesbian story, just because it is from right. Cameron Post's perspective. Do you have any last thoughts on Miseducation of Cameron Post before we move on?
Just the funniest thing to me about conversion therapy camps is just like that they room the men with the men and the women with the women. And of course that's going to lead to them just making out in the middle of the night. Like, it's the same thing. But I'm a cheerleader. It's like, yeah. Of course these women are going to, like, honestly, you should room the men with the women if you want to avoid this kind of stuff. Like,
right. Well, because there was that scene weird. in this movie that has to be just true and real, is that Cameron was having a spicy dream, making sounds that weren't scary, as the other girl put it, and then that got her interested, and then they had a little love session for a few minutes, and then the other girl immediately felt guilty, and almost, even though she wasn't the recipient here, almost this post-nut clarity where she was just like, this is not, what I've done is wrong. And then, and she feels guilt, which is so heartbreaking, because like, she should not, and that this is just true. I mean, I'm not going to say anything that isn't obvious, but she should not feel guilt for the feelings that she's feeling. If if she is not hurting other people, she should not feel guilt for being who she is, and she's not hurting other people in that situation. So, it's frustrating, but it is realistic, unfortunately. Okay, so from there, we're going to move on to our next one, which is our gay movie, which also features a range of different types of people in it. But it is Bros from, was it 2022? Is that right?
I think so.
Yeah,
that sounds right.
Yes, it's I was gonna say it's our newest one, but it's not. We have actually all of them we have are fairly new. They're all within within the last 5 years. But Bros is from 2022 is our pick, and this was my pick because I saw this one in theater and I absolutely loved it. It was one of the funniest movies I'd seen in a long time. It was my number one movie of 2022 for a long time. I think it might have been eclipsed at some point. I'm sure it was. I don't remember what all came out. I'll have to go look at that. But it was eclipsed at one point. But for a long time, it was my number one movie of 2022. But Bros is finally a rom-com, a big studio rom-com about gay men, which is not something we get. You get the indie movies and the small budget, straight to streaming type movies. You get some gay rom-coms, but you never get that big Apatow comedy gay rom-com movie with it. Now, having read your review, Carly, I'm a little nervous about it because I know that it did not work quite as well for you on second watch. I do have a different opinion on some of these things, but I would like to hear your thoughts on second watch. What didn't quite work for you?
Yeah, so the biggest thing for me, because I'm a big rom-com girl, I love rom-coms. I mean, I love most rom-coms. Some of them are very problematic, and I'm like, no, thank you. But and this one's not problematic. I just don't really feel the chemistry between the two leads. Like they're both very hot gay men. Good for them. I think is the love interest, is he played by a gay actor as well? Do you know?
I don't know that.
Because I know a lot of the actors are like queer, outside of just queer actors playing queer characters. So I wasn't sure if they were both.
I just assumed he was because they make a big deal about that in the movie. So I assumed that he was, but maybe not. I don't know.
But no, I just didn't feel the chemistry. I didn't feel the romance. Like I can't even say exactly what it is. It's just, there's just a spark missing for me. I still like the movie. I still think it's very funny. It's just when the romance doesn't work, it kind of makes the rest not fit as well for me. And it's hard because it's not even anything specific that happens. It's just the vibes. I just don't feel the chemistry personally.
That's and I guess I can see that. When I first saw, and I think it was your star rating rather than your review, because your review clears it up a little bit, but your star rating went down to 2.5 out of 5. So I was like, oh god. But I can see that on some level. However, I do disagree only because I think it comes from my experience, which is that my wife and I are complete opposites. In fact, I've always been mostly attracted to people who are opposite from me. I and my wife and I are like the textbook definition of opposites attract. So their interactions felt very true to people who to the opposites attract thing. And so I really felt it, especially because I think that a big part of it is, number one, they're both people who don't want to be in a relationship, who have found themselves in a relationship. So that's obviously going to create a bit of a division between them already, like a bit of a resistance to their chemistry. As in part of the intention is a resistance to their chemistry. Number two, they are very different people. They just really like each other. So navigating that. And then I think that for me, the thing that really, because that can be hard to navigate in a narrative. It's hard to navigate in real life. I can tell you, just because that's been my relationship status for my entire dating life and now married life, is that it's just difficult to be with someone so opposite from you. But there are always those little scenes that reinforce that they do truly have feelings for each other. There's that scene, that line that I absolutely love, and I can't quote it outright right now, but when the love interest, and I've forgotten his name, is not Billy Eichner, but the other one. When he says to Bobby, Billy Eichner's character, he says, you think you're not lovable, you think you don't deserve to be with someone, but if you can't look at me and see that I am living proof that you are lovable, and that somebody does want to be with you, that moment is like, okay, that's what the movie is trying. That is the thesis of this film. Like, it is trying to say that people who aren't necessarily 100% compatible can find that love with each other, and people who are not your cookie cutter romantic leads can still find that love. And that is why it works for me. I do understand that if that is not clicking for you, then the romance might not click for you. So I get it. I'm not saying you're wrong about any of it. For me, it does work for that reason.
And I do love opposites attract type relationships. It just didn't work for me in this instance. So
maybe on third watch, you'll come back around.
Maybe on third watch.
But no, I love that it exists. Right?
I love that it exists. I love that it's a big, like you said, it's a big studio comedy with like all these queer people playing these queer characters, and it is very funny. The humor is fantastic. So yeah, I'm very glad it exists. It's just not my favorite, but like you said, maybe third watch I'll come around.
Yeah, because correct me if I'm wrong, but you liked it the first time, and then the second time just didn't hold up quite as well as it did the first time.
Right.
So maybe on third watch you'll come back. That happens sometimes. It's happened for me with a lot of movies. So that's what we're hoping for, gang. We're hoping she comes around. Anyway, it's hard to describe why this movie. I mean, I just described a lot of why this movie really hit for me, but like, this movie start to finish was just firing on cylinders. I think it's because, and I think it is because for so long I had seen, because I'm pansexual, as people may know. So like, for the longest time, I've been able to see part of what represents me, part of what I find attractive and what represents my attraction in these big comedies. It's just, I've never been able to see one that felt so relatable and was this, this big cultural thing like that. It felt, and it's hard because I'm not a gay man, so I'm pan, so it's not entirely my story or anything like that, but it did feel like this side of, like, something was missing, like there was a piece that had been missing to my cinematic journey that was being filled, and I think that's part of it as well. Also, just the comedy, it's really, really funny, like, and it still works. Like, I remember sitting in the theater laughing my ass off in the middle of Oklahoma, well, northeast of Oklahoma, but in Oklahoma, to be fair, in one of the more liberal areas in Oklahoma, but laughing with this crowd of people at these very, very, very gay, inappropriate jokes was just so much fun. It makes me laugh every time now. Like, I've seen it 3 or 4 times now, and it doesn't stop being funny to me. It's just always so funny. There are 2 points of contention I do have with this film. Number 1, I am a year-round shorts wearer. And he called those people psychopaths or something. He can calm down.
To be fair, you do live in Oklahoma.
Yes, but it does get cold here. So we do get the sub-zero temperatures occasionally, and I still am wearing shorts on those days. Number two, one of the running jokes was that like he liked that the love interest liked Garth Brooks, which is a fine joke. But they could not have picked a more progressive country music artist to be because it's less funny when you realize that in the 90s Garth Brooks was putting out pro-gay songs. When he's like, everyone knows our longtime queer advocate Garth Brooks, which he said as sarcasm, but he put out a song called "We Shall Be Free" in the early 90s, which is specifically about people being able to love who they want. So just having to say that, I'm a big Garth Brooks fan. I have since I was a kid, and so when it came to that, I was like, well, you if you were really wanting to make a joke, make it seem like he liked someone that was outside of the queer scope. Yeah, I can't speak. I couldn't even say speak just now when I was trying to say I can't speak. Ugh. Anyway, if you wanted to do somebody who was outside of the queer scope, you could have chosen an artist that was less progressive. But we'll move on from there. That is. Did you have any other thoughts about Bros before we move on?
No, I think we covered it.
This one also covered a range of queer types, and that is because they were working to set up a queer museum, and they had just a variety of different types of people, which was really cool to hear from the different perspectives. And here it's obviously turned up to 11 a lot of the way that they were talking about everything. God, I remember when the first trailer came out, and Jim Rash was like, "Oh, remember straight people?" Or was it Jim? I don't know. One of them said, "Remember straight people," and then the other one said, "Yeah, they had a good run." I remember the internet, the straight incel side of the internet, just being so, being themselves, being how they always are with that kind of stuff. It's like, come on, it's a joke, obviously. But I did want to mention that this movie did not do super well at the box office, and that upset Billy Eichner. And I remember that he was like that people got mad at him for a little bit because he was like, well, I guess people can't just handle that, people in conservative areas just can't handle this kind of comedy or whatever. And people got mad at him for a little while, but Billy Eichner he's known for being abrasive and loud, and that's it's like, did you expect him to not say something like that? Like that's I don't know why people are mad. Like our side is mad at him for that, and I'm like, come on, that's who he is. Like it's silly. Anyway, we can move on from Bros to our bisexual movie, which we decided this one together, which is Shiva Baby, starring Rachel Sennett. Is that how we say it? I remember last time we were together.
Yes, I believe
last time we were together, I wasn't sure, and I'm pretty sure it's Sennett. But this one, I remember came out in 2020, and it kind of came out of nowhere for me. And I watched it, and I was like, "Oh wow, this is incredible." Was that similar to you, or had you been looking for it?
Yeah. I think it pretty much came out of nowhere. I was just like, I opened it up, and I was just like, I have no idea like what this movie is. Mm-hmm. And it was fun because I showed my brother on this rewatch. I showed it to my brother, and he was like, "What's the movie about?" And I was just like, "Anxiety. Come on, come watch it. You'll love it." And he did. He was like, "I thought you meant she was going to be struggling with anxiety, not that the movie would make you feel anxious the whole time." And like, he did love it, but he was just like, "Oh my God, she's making all the worst decisions," which is great.
Yes. My exact review of this movie on this rewatch is Jesus, this movie is as tense as any horror movie, and it's true. I made a list once of my favorite non-horror movies. In fact, it's going to be a theme for this show later in the year, and this one could have been on it. Like, this movie is a non-horror. It feels like a horror movie. The music is incredible. It makes it feel like a horror movie, like someone's about to die at any moment. Everything about it is just so tense, but so well executed. Plus, you got, her parents are so good. They are exactly what they need to be. They are the comic relief or the source of tension, whichever thing they need to be in this movie. What are your thoughts on the parents or the rest of the cast in this movie as well? Because I think the rest, she is incredible, and she as the focal point is really incredible. But just the rest of the cast adds to that atmosphere so well. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, they're so perfect. Like, it's just so perfect, overbearing family members. And I'm not Jewish, so I can't comment on how Jewish it feels, but like, from what I've heard, like, it's very Jewish, very like, they care about you, but they're also like criticizing you at the same time type thing. And it's just like, it's so perfect. I don't know. Do you know if Rachel Sennett or the director are Jewish? Do you know?
I know Rachel Sennett is. I don't know anything about the director.
Okay. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Cause it just feels so like not realistic. So, authentic. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. It just feels so authentic. And yeah, I just love it. Like, so much of the comedy comes from the cast, and, for the non-Jewish, member of the cast, did you ever watch Glee?
I watched the first few seasons. Yes.
Okay. I was obsessed with Diana Agron, because I shipped her and one of the other women on Glee. Because of course I'm gonna like I shipped them majorly. I wanted them to kiss
the characters or the actors?
The characters.
Which
not
character?
The actors. I shipped her and Rachel. I wanted them to kiss.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Well, in the later seasons,
I would have been into it.
Scenes that I'm just like, okay, but why don't you kiss? Like, I'm like, yeah. So like, whenever I see Diane Agron, I'm just like, I mean, because she's so freaking hot. I was obsessed with her as a teen. So like, seeing her in anything, I'm just like, I love that she's in this very queer movie. She's not doing any queer things, but like, the fact the me that like read into all the queer stuff in Glee was just like so happy she was in this film, in this queer adjacent role, which is really great.
Yeah. It's interesting to me that, because I really only know her from Glee, where she played a teenager, that she is the older woman in this situation as well, which I thought was kind of funny. But I love that that her character in this is like unflappable. Like, she is not afraid to say what's on her mind. She's not really hindered by what's going on around her. And you kind of start to feel for her, even though she is kind of the opposition to our main character in this movie, but you really feel for her because she is the one being cheated on in this situation.
Yeah. I love the scene near the end where where you're at first at the beginning of the scene, you're like, oh, does she know? And the longer the scene goes on, you're like, either she knows or she's a psychopath.
Right.
With how far she's taking this. And it's like, yeah, she knows.
Yeah. This movie, it's so unnerving. And I loved every second of it. Like, that was it's really incredible. But this one is not much representation, other than it's about a bisexual woman who is both of her current lover and her former lover are at this Shiva.
Well, former / maybe something's gonna happen with them again.
Yeah, and they need to get married and love each other forever, because every scene where they were getting along was my favorite. Like, I really felt their chemistry. I love that. It's very interesting because as I'm watching this, I was realizing, Rachel Sennett is friends with Iowa Debris, who is on The Bear, and the girl who plays the love interest, whose name I've just forgotten, is also co-star on The Bear during the, I think, first and second season, maybe. I don't remember which season, but yeah. So there was that fun connection. At first I was like, oh, it's a Bear reunion. I was like, no, I just link Rachel Sennett and Io Debris so closely that it's not. But yeah, it's their chemistry was very, very good, and I really wanted them to be together. So at the end, when they hold hands, and that's the last thing we see from them, it gives it another it's another hopeful note at the end of one of these movies. All three so far have had hopeful notes.
Yeah. I love the messiness of it, like how Rachel Senna's character isn't the only messy one. Like, obviously she's making awful decisions. She's trying to be a full-on homewrecker by sending I can't remember if it was completely nude pictures or just very risky pictures to him while they're at this event together. And then her girlfriend finds out, and then she's like being all spiteful and like not letting her know where the phone is. And I just love how they're both just huge messes, like just made for each other. It's like, of course, they're like adorable and also like just fit each other very well.
If you want to see more of Carly just totally enjoying messy female relationships, you should watch our Camp Film Camp episode, Sapphic Mess Badge, where we talked about messy lesbians for a long time. But yes, I love that messiness of it as well. But at the end of the day, I really wanted them to work it out and be together. Do you have anything else that you want to talk about with Shiva Baby before we move on?
No, I think, yep, that's it.
All right, 3 hopeful endings, and now we're on to possibly a not helpful ending. We'll see how we feel about our interpretation here. This was the only movie we considered for our trans representation in this episode, and that is I Saw the TV Glow, which is from last year. It's the newest one. It just came out last year, but we've both seen it a lot of times. Even though it's the newest one, I've seen it the most times of any of these. Is that the same for you?
I think I've seen it like 3 times. Last time I watched it with a group of friends, and they're not big movie people, but they were still just all in awe of it, which I think says a lot about the movie, that even my non-movie friends were just like, wow, that's amazing. Like, my friend, she stole my Blu-ray, was like, I need to watch this again with subtitles so I can like take it all in, which my favorite thing is loaning my Blu-rays out to my friends. Yeah. Like, sharing movies is just one of my favorite things to do. So like the fact that she was like, can I borrow this? I was like, yes, take it.
Yes.
Watch it again.
That's great, because I remember when you watched that with some non-movie people, you had mentioned it to me. And I was curious how that went, because I didn't know. Listen, I worked in a video store for a long time. There's some movies you just don't recommend to people, to all people. And this would have been one of that type of things. So I'm curious how that went with, was everybody into it, or did you have?
Yeah, they were all into it, but nice. You know, they're my friends, so they're a weird group.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense, I guess. But I saw the TV Glow. When I saw this in the theater, and I knew I was in for something weird because I had seen the trailer for it. And I was like, okay, something's going to be weird with this movie. I went to the theater. It did not, and I guess the projector malfunctioned or something malfunctioned. They didn't show any trailers. It just popped straight into like halfway through the movie. And I thought, this is exactly what I expect this is exactly how weird I expected this movie to be. And so I was like, maybe it's part of the movie, but then they stopped it and had to go back and restart it with the thing. But when we finally got to the movie and got to see the whole thing, this movie was a thrill ride. Like it was, I was just hooked into, like, I could not take my eyes off it. I saw it in theater, so it's easier to maintain your focus on something like that when you're in a movie theater. But on subsequent watches, it's the same thing. Like I can't stop watching this movie. And there's a lot of things that really I find very, very relatable. There's a lot of things that my eyes were open to. I'll say this. I saw the asexual allegories within this movie well before I saw the trans allegories. And I think I think that because most of the trans stuff I got on reflection afterward, I was thinking about, I was like, oh, this is, and because I knew Jane Schoenberg, what's his,
I think
what's
it's
her
Schoenberg.
name? Schoenberg. I knew that they were trans. And so like when I started thinking about that, I was like, oh, this makes sense. And this makes sense. On second watch, it was very, very clear to me because I watched it like as soon as it came out on streaming or whatever. I watched it again. This is, I think, my fourth time watching it when I watched it for this. And it still continues to unfold for me as I'm watching it. I'm like, oh, okay. So I now see this as part of the thing. And it's just very interesting. So as soon as when I was done watching it, I went to one of our friends, Win. I messaged them and I was like, hey, this is a movie you have to see, because by then I had recognized the trans stuff too, but they are ace and trans, or I believe that is the case for them. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, you got to see this because it's definitely up your alley. But so that was my experience with kind of unfolding this movie. I imagine on the next time I watch it, it'll unfold even further. What is your experience with how you were able to grasp the themes in this movie?
My first time I didn't really pick up on the trans stuff. Like you, I did pick up on like the general just queerness. But it took me like after this movie ended, like I had to just really sit with it and just really dwell on it for a while. Like I could not give this a star rating right after I watched it. Like I had to wait because I was just like not really sure what to make of it. I wasn't sure if I liked it, if I loved it, if it just didn't click for me. And then after I dwelled on it for a little bit, after I dwelled on it, I immediately gave it to like 5 stars. Cause I was just like, cause I could not, no, I gave it 4.5 stars. And then like 3 hours later, I bumped it up to 5 stars. Cause I just could not stop thinking about it. Like it was just stuck in my brain. Cause it's just such a beautiful film. Mm-hmm. And there's just so much to talk about it with, because it's not, I mean, there's the queer themes and all that, but there's also like there's so much about like fandom and connectivity and like identity and nostalgia. Like there's like you can completely miss the trans themes, the ace themes, all that, and this can still be like a fantastic movie. The way I forgot, is the director's pronounced she, her, or
they.
It's they? Okay.
They, them. At least that was the case. I'm not sure what it is right now, but that was the case at the time.
But just the way they like craft this movie, it's just like it's truly a masterpiece, and like it's so rare for a director's second film. I believe this was her second film, to just be this affecting. And I was also not really sure if I'd like it because I wasn't the biggest fan of Let's Go to the World's Fair. It didn't really click with me. But like this one did so much. Like it's so specific to the trans experience, but it's also like relatable outside of that. Like just how they connect through watching a TV show, and like feeling that fandom connectivity that like it just feels so specific. Mm-hmm. It just hits me so hard. Because I remember being like in fandom when I was like a teen and like finding connection through like on Tumblr with like chatting with people in that same fandom, and it's just like about finding your place and like finding a way to connect to people, and it's just so I'm rambling a bit, but like it's just so beautiful, and like I love how there's just so much of themselves in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And like on top of that, like that scene with Mr. Melancholy is freaking terrifying. Like every time I watch that scene, it just gives me goosebumps. It's so creepy, and like how he just kind of like disconnects them. Like even if you want to just separate the trans stuff, like how he disconnects them from who they are, and throws them into like such an isolating, lonely world.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so affecting. And, you know, now not discrediting trans stuff, like just there's so few great trans films just because those stories don't get told as much. And like the fact that this is still my favorite film of 2024. Like it's truly a masterpiece. And it's so like I don't have enough words to say about this movie and like how like it just, and I'm not trans. Like the fact that it touches me this deeply, I can't even imagine how deeply it touches people who directly relate to that experience. Like it's just okay. I've talked enough now. No,
It was wonderful. Yeah, it's because there's so much in this that is relatable, even if you're not trans, like you had said. Like, and I feel the same way. It's like if I connect so deeply to this movie and I'm not trans, I can't imagine what it does for people who have lived that experience. The genre, the fandom, that stuff, the genre television series is obviously based on the Pink Opaque is obviously stand-in for Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Not only has Jane Schoenbrunn said that they chose that was the show that got them through a lot of their adolescence, but the font that they use during the credits of the Pink Opaque is clearly the Buffy font. So that's obviously what it is. But just even if you're not a Buffy fan, just genre television in general, or any television that you connect with on such a real level, it's an important like you said, if we're not even looking at the trans allegory that's happening within this, that is something that's incredibly relatable to people who feel this loneliness in their life, who have something in them that maybe they aren't able to express to the world. That's something that I experienced most of my life. Even if not a trans thing, but like there was something in me that I could not share with the entire world. And there's something about stories that you can connect to, that you feel that deep of a connection to, that it was really the way that this movie handles that felt very, very true and very real, because Buffy is one of them for me, but also just movies in general is that for me as well. Like it was always a safe place, a sanctuary, and I absolutely love that. Bringing the trans allegory back in, as I said, it unfolds more and more for me every time I watch it. The feeling of, because basically this represents two different types of this movie. The two main characters in this represent two different types of trans experience. Not the only two trans experiences, but two different types of trans experience. The trans experience of the person who is able to become their true self publicly and out in the open, and the person who is too afraid to take that step, and who has to live in a with, basically within this world, that this false world that has been created so that they can feel safe. And it's heartbreaking, but unfortunately very real and true. And when I was saying like that the first three movies that we talked about had hopeful endings, sadly for me, this one does not feel hopeful, because it almost feels like by the end, Isabel is going to come out, like is going to come out of Owen. Um, then Owen puts the clothes back on and comes through and just apologizes to everybody else in the fun center, and that's heartbreaking. And then it ends. Like, yeah, that how talk to me about the ending, and how you feel about that.
Well, first, like the line that the writing on the straight words, like there is still time. Like every time I see that, it just makes me so emotional because like in so many ways, like that can relate to the entire queer experience. Like, you hear about people coming out as gay in like their 70s. And I love that line. Like, and I love how they put that before all the depressing stuff at the end. I think I have heard interpretations where they think the movie ends because they are going to decide to come out.
That is hopeful. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've heard that interpretation, but the ending is just it just feels so depressing that as much as I want to believe that, that's not necessarily how I feel. The movie is not how the movie makes me feel at the end. But I think even without that, I think just that line that there is still time, I think that makes it at least somewhat hopeful. Cause like, I think that's why they put that in there. Cause it's like, okay, it's looking pretty bleak because they want to show how bleak it can be when you don't get to be your true self.
Right.
But I'd like that before all that, they have that there is still time because it's just telling the audience there's still time. They can make the decision to be their true selves. So like it is, I wouldn't call the ending hopeful. But I would say that there are hopeful aspects to it.
Yes, I agree. That there's still time thing always does it for me as well. Like I love that. But it just, because there's also the line in the movie where what is Tara is the TV show version, but what Jack Haven's character, whatever that character's name is, which I've forgotten, Matty. When Matty says you have to come to the real world before you suffocate, and from that moment, Owen's asthma gets worse and worse and worse, like to the point where by the end he's barely breathing. On his own. And that I hope that the ending of that story is the movie ends because Owen has finally decided to go to the other side. But it's scary because if someone came to you and said, we have to bury ourselves alive so we can go to see our true form, you would call them crazy, and you would never do that. So it's And I think that if you think about that part logically, it shows you how scary something like that is. It's actually a very good metaphor for how scary something like that is, because hearing someone say it in a movie and knowing it's a movie is one thing. Thinking about the idea that you might have to bury yourself alive and that so you have to trust someone else that they're telling you the truth about that, it's terrifying. So
that's a great point. I didn't think about like how they frame that so horribly to like kind of hit home how scary coming out and changing everything is. Because I mean, because like when you come out as gay, it's different. I feel like generally people are more accepting of being gay than they are of transness, because it doesn't change who you are. It's who you are, but like the way people view you, it changes everything. Like I mean, obviously every experience is different, but it seems like it's a much tougher transition than just coming out as queer to friends.
Right. It is it has to be much harder. And I can't, I've never experienced it, but it has to be much harder because, number one, we are fortunate enough to live in a world, even though there's still plenty of people who are against us. We live in a world where it's far more accepting for that. But even the people who are accepting of other types of queerness, there are still those people who are still anti-trans. One of the richest, most beloved authors in the world who is very LGB positive,
minus the
is
T.
not down with the T, and has told us that she is going to spend her money that she makes from Harry Potter. Oh, I said it. Toward her anti-trans women's association or whatever, the women's fund that is obviously not. It's a fancy way of saying anti-trans women, which sucks. So there's still a stigma with that. And yes, you're right, because the way coming out as gay or anything like that, people have a better grasp on what that means to you and to them. And that's probably most important. What does it mean to me? Coming out as trans, I have to assume, is harder for someone to grasp what it means to me. So yes, it has to be so much scarier. And I don't envy the task, but I am so proud of every person who does it. And if you're watching this right now and have been through that, or are going through that, or are thinking about going through that, I'm so proud of every step you've taken. It's the most courageous I've ever seen anybody be. And that's just the truth. But yeah, another thing that this is off the allegory and the queerness and any of that. One thing I love about this movie, and I realized it on this watch, is that if the Pink Opaque existed in our world, this would be a great movie that bridges seasons 5 and 6. The movie itself could bridge 5 and 6, because it would explain what's happening to them while they're in the ground. And that's just the thought that I had. Like this movie could very well be part of the Pink Opaque series,
right?
But that's really all I had to say about that. Do you have any? We've talked a long time about this one, and we could talk for a very, very long time. Do you have anything else that you want to say about I Saw the TV Glow?
I do. I got the Criterion, and truly one of the most gorgeous Blu-rays I have ever seen. Look at this. It's just completely stunning.
It's beautiful. Yeah.
Gosh, if anyone wants to buy this movie, they really should, because I was just blown away when I got it, because I was just like, wow, that is just gorgeous, especially with all the colors. And that's another thing about this movie. It's just I love the trans colors, and how you might miss it if you're not thinking about the color theory and what those mean. But on rewatch, it's so obvious. Mm-hmm. You're just like, oh, those are just the trans flag colors. We're just starting the movie that way. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah. So if you haven't seen I Saw the TV Glow, don't take all the spoilers we just did and think that you don't need to watch this movie, because this movie needs to be experienced, and you should go watch it. And trust me, there's no amount of spoiling we could do for this movie, because it all is allegory. It all takes place within the subtext, or mostly takes place within the subtext. There's some stuff that's very, very overt. But yeah, go watch I Saw the TV Glow if you haven't seen it. You will not be sorry. But we are going to move on to our week 26 preview, or my week 26 preview. Sadly, Carly will not be there with me next time. But the week 26 preview is for next week. Is about it's the 4th of July. It's Independence Day. We go from LGBTQIA plus celebration to straight cis white men celebration. No, I'm going to try to get as the good, the bad, and the ugly as much as I can about American history put in there. I'm not just going to watch all the pro-American movies, because number one, that's just not me. But I do have a fascination with early American history. So there's a musical based on the Congress fight for independence called 1776. And I watch it every year, and I love it, and I love American history, and I love early American history. But I also love things that challenge the narratives of American history. So I'm going to try to watch all kinds of stuff. Who knows what I'll get? Who knows what I'll get?
You were referring to Hamilton at first.
No, I do love Hamilton too, but 1776 was my jam before Hamilton happened.
I've never even heard of that one. I'll have to check that out.
But yeah, so I'm gonna watch some American history stuff. Talk to me in the comments. What are some of your favorite American history movies? Also, tell me some of your favorite queer cinema films. What do you think of the movies we watched? Was Carly right about everything? I think she was. Talk to me in the comments. Thanks.